I knew I wanted to step into the currents of history and help people fight for their dreams. But I didn't know what my role would be. I was inspired by what people like Harris did in the Civil Rights Movement. But when I got to Chicago, there were no marches, there was no soaring speeches to be heard. In the shadow of an empty steel plant, there were just a lot of people who were struggling every day. Day after day, I heard no a lot more than I heard yes. I saw plenty of empty chairs in the community meetings that we put together. But even as I discovered that you can't bend history entirely to your will, I found that you could do your part to see that, in the words of Dr. King, that history bends towards justice. In church basements and around kitchen tables, block by block, we brought the community together. We registered new voters. We fought for new jobs. We helped people live lives with some measure of dignity. And eventually I realized I wasn't just helping other people. Through service, I found a community that embraced me, a church to belong to, citizenship that was meaningful, the direction I had been seeking. Through service, I found that my own improbable story fit into a larger American story. You see, in America, each of us seeks our own dreams. But the sum of those dreams must be greater than ourselves. Because the America we inherited is the legacy of those who struggled, and those who served in so many ways before us. It's the legacy of a band of unlikely patriots who overthrew the tyranny of the king. It's the legacy of abolitionists who stood up, and soldiers who fought for a more perfect union. It's the legacy of those who started to teach in our schools and tend to the sick in our cities, who laid the rails and volunteered to uphold the law as America moved west. It's the legacy of men who faced the depression by putting on the uniform of the Civilian Conservation Corps, of women who worked on that arsenal of democracy and built the tanks and ships and bomber aircraft to fight fascism. It's the legacy of those women suffragists and freedom riders who stood up for justice, and young people who answered President Kennedy's call to go forth in the Peace Corps. The sacrifices made by previous generations have never been easy. But America is a great nation precisely because Americans have been willing to stand up when it was hard, to serve on stages, both great and small, to rise above moments of great challenge and terrible trial. One of those moments took place on September 11, 2001. Whether you lived in Manhattan or here in Mount Vernon, you felt the pain and loss of that day, not just as an individual, but as an American. That's why we lined up to give blood. That's why we held vigils, flew flags. That's why we rallied behind our president. We had a chance to step into the currents of history. We were ready to answer a new call for our country. But the call never came. Instead, we were asked to go shopping and to prove our patriotism by supporting a war in Iraq that should have never been authorized and should have never been waged. We have lost precious time. Our nation is less secure and less respected in the world. Our energy dependence has risen, and so has the specter of climate change. More of our children have been left behind. Instead of a call to unity, we've got a political strategy of division. The burden of service has fallen more and more on the extraordinary, brave men and women of our military. Men and women who heroically served tour after tour of duty in a war without end. When I was thinking about whether or not to seek the presidency, there were some voices who counseled me to wait. You seem like a gifted young man, they said. Why not wait around Washington few more years. When I start talking about a politics of hope on the campaign trail, some just roll their eyes and echo the words of that older man from my younger days. You can't change the world, and people won't appreciate you trying. Well, I am running for president right now because I refuse to let this moment pass. The decisions we make today will shape the century that my daughters and your children grow up in. I've not served the cause of America for over 2 decades to stay on the sidelines at a time when that cause is being challenged at home and abroad. If we don't rise up to seize this moment, then we may not get another. I have no doubt that in the face of impossible odds, people who love their country can change it. But I hold no illusions that one man or woman can do this alone. That's why my campaign has called nearly 400,000 Americans to a common purpose. That's why I'm reaching out to Democrats, but to also independents and Republicans. That is why I won't just ask for your vote as a candidate. I don't want you just caucusing for me, although I want you caucusing for me. I will ask for your service and your active citizenship when I am President of the United States. This will not be a call issued in one speech or program. This will be a cause of my presidency. Let me tell you what I want to do. First, we will create new opportunities for all Americans to serve and to direct that service to our most pressing national challenges. Americans have shown they want to step up. I see it everywhere I go. The brave young men and women who have signed up to defend our country. The volunteers fighting poverty in rural America and rebuilding New Orleans. Students getting their colleges to divest to stop the genocide in Darfur. The thousands of young Americans who flooded the applicant pool for Teach for America. Retirees who are devoting their time to service. But we're not keeping pace with the demand of those who want to serve. We're not leveraging that commitment to meet national challenges. FDR not only enlisted Americans to create employment, he targeted that service to build infrastructure to conserve our environment. JFK not only called on a new generation, he made their service a bridge to the developing world, and a bright light of American values in the darkest days of the Cold War. Today, AmeriCorps, our nation's network of local, state, and national service programs, has 75,000 slots. As president, I will increase that to 250,000 and make that increased service a vehicle to meet national goals like providing health care and education, saving our planet, and restoring our standing in the world so that citizens see their efforts connected to a common purpose, a higher purpose. People of all ages, all stations, and all skills will be asked to serve. Because when it comes to the challenges we face, the American people are not the problem, they are the answer. To help every American receive a world-class education, we will create a new classroom corps. We'll have college students, recent graduates, and retirees mentor young people. Engineers and scientists will help make sure the next generation of innovators is educated here in America. Civic, business, and faith leaders will develop new after-school programs for our children. To free ourselves from energy dependence and to confront climate change, we'll create a new energy pool. We'll ask you to work on renewable energy projects, to teach people about conservation, and to help clean up polluted areas. We'll send talented American engineers and scientists abroad to help developing countries promote low-carbon energy development. To restore America's standing, I will call on our greatest resource, not our bombs, or guns, or dollars. I will call upon our people.